12 steps that a female covert narcissist uses to bait a married man. Hello everyone. Today we'll uncover why even ethical men fall into affairs with manipulative narcissists and how to safeguard against emotional coercion. If you've ever felt confused by a tempting stranger's pursuit or blamed yourself for an illicit romance gone wrong, this video is for you. We'll examine the 12 calculated steps a female covert narcissist employs to ensnare married individuals in trauma bonds, then obstruct their escape. My aim is preventing deception through awareness, not victim blaming. This knowledge inoculates communities against narcissists, camouflaging themselves as sirens luring ships onto hidden shoals. Please share your experiences handling similar subterfuge so we can support each other in resisting. The clearer we see their games, the less power they have. Looking forward to discussing in the comments. Which manipulative behaviors have you encountered? How did you find the strength to break free and protect your peace? Your stories enlighten us all. Now let's illuminate these shadowy maneuvers by walking through the 12 steps of emotional coercion step by step. Knowledge is power when it comes to safeguarding our relationships against narcissists' exploitation. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content revealing covert narcissists' secret manipulation methods. Together, we can help each other detach from toxicity and reject unfair blame. From my observations, fragile egos drive covert narcissists to lure targets through deception. They adeptly elicit admiration while offering little substance in return. But we can reclaim our freedom by illuminating their distortions. Understanding covert seduction tactics helps us avoid self-blame when treated poorly. Their actions reflect inner fragility rather than our worth or temptation. Let's explore this manipulative process to empower our responses. I'll walk through the 12 steps a covert narcissist follows to ensnare a target, drawing from examples shared in the comments. Pay close attention. You may notice uncomfortable parallels to relationships past and present. The goal is learning to decode covert narcissistic tactics to better stand up for your needs. Knowledge empowers us to establish boundaries, detach from toxicity, and reject unfair blame rather than internalizing it. My hope is that understanding the calculated lures of covert narcissists will help you heal after narcissistic injury. The clearer we see through their games, the less power they have. Now let's begin examining the 12 steps of ensnarement. Step 1. Strategic approach. Probing vulnerability. Like a spy assessing an asset, a covert narcissist evaluates targets for emotional extortion by first probing their receptivity through seemingly innocent conversation. She flatters with subtle comments about his attractive qualities, testing susceptibility to idealization. If he responds positively, she slowly escalates, indicating interest via lingering eye contact, leaning closer, and strategic touches to imply the possibility of more, while securing plausible deniability. Her goal is igniting emotional and sexual curiosity to initiate grooming. For example, one husband was struggling in his marriage when a new coworker began complimenting him and sharing personal details, kindling hopes of renewed intimacy. The coworker asked seemingly caring questions about what he felt was missing at home to tailor her false persona. Step 2. Cultivating trust. Establishing an illusion of bonding. Once a target appears receptive, the covert narcissist begins methodically constructing an illusion of unique chemistry by sharing just enough personal vulnerability about her past to simulate reciprocal emotional bonding. Her disclosures feel flattering, yet require no substantive caregiving reciprocation. This false sense of safety elicits the target's increased self-revelation, collecting sensitive secrets she later exploits while preventing him from recognizing red flags. Their seeming bond around her tragic struggles activates his protector instincts while obscuring the truth. The coworker confided stories of bad past relationships, making the husband feel uniquely trusted while learning his relationship frustrations. She assured him she understood his needs better than his wife ever could. Another example involved a married man who was seduced by a neighbor. The neighbor opened up to him about her difficult childhood, establishing a sense of mutual trust and an illusion of unique chemistry between them. Step 3. Mapping desires. Tailoring her false self to meet his needs. Through seemingly curious questions, the covert narcissist investigates the target's top emotional priorities, spoken and unspoken needs, and relationship dissatisfaction to curate a custom false self catering to his desires. As his admiring reflector, she also elicits previously unmet cravings for admiration and attraction, lowering inhibitions later. This mapping informs her false self-presentation, ensuring maximal emotional investment. She converts marital compromises into entitlement to selfish, uncompromising demands. The coworker asked what he felt was missing at home, coaxing out painful admissions of feeling invisible and urging him to share secret sexual desires. She assured him she embraced all of him, The neighbor mapped the married man's relationship frustrations and sexual desires through leading conversations, presenting herself as the perfect partner who appreciated him fully. Step 4. Love bombing, heightening adrenaline and romanticizing the affair. Once established as the oasis from marital burdens, the covert narcissist's affection turns fulsome, even obsessive, producing love bombing's intoxicating adrenaline as the forbidden affair takes on an addictive, otherworldly allure. Previous commitments pale under this fantasy's spell, hinting escape. The perfumed fog of romance conceals lurking hazards, while bonding hormones suppress rational dissent. Danger's adrenaline cements trauma bonding, sinking the hooks deeper. The coworker lavished him with adoration, sexting and romantic gestures heightening the affair's excitement. She portrayed their tryst as destined, an addiction eclipsing all reason. The neighbor love bombed the married man with flattery, gifts, and constant attention, making him feel euphoric and addicted to the affair. Step 5. Tempting fantasy, maximizing his imagined ideal life with her. As routines feel increasingly joyless, the covert narcissist stokes comparisons to passion's promise, tempting the target to imagine an ideal life of her devoted companionship without marital burdens. Through practices like suggestive future faking, she fuels romantic and sexual fantasies depicting her meeting needs his wife fails to satisfy, lowering inhibitions to betrayal. His support shifts from spouse to apparent dream lover. Their affair now feels fated rather than a temptation to resist. But her selflessness is temporary and conditional. The coworker future faked a life where she tended lovingly to his needs, unlike his perpetually dissatisfied wife. He daydreamed of how blissful life could be with someone so perfectly matched to him. The neighbor got the married man imagining leaving his unhappy marriage for a fantasy life with her through constant words of affirmation and promising a perfect relationship. Step 6. Exploiting adrenaline addiction, ensuring his enslavement. Once romanticized fantasy grips the target's conscience, the covert narcissist ruthlessly exploits his body's addictive response to the affair's danger by consummating it, cementing trauma bonding and supplanting all reason with intoxication. The greater the perceived risk, the more adrenaline and the deeper the hook sinks. Where before he retained some control through the right of refusal, now refusal means unbearable withdrawal, trapping him in relational quicksand. His secrecy secures her control. Once he reached the point of no return physically with the coworker, he became addicted to the affair's adrenaline despite the harm being done. He rationalized his continued deception, afraid to lose his drug. Similarly, the neighbor manipulated the married man into a sexual relationship, making him dependent on the affair's adrenaline highs. He was now trapped, willing to do anything to keep getting his fix. Step 7. Enforcing emotional investment, obligating through blackmail dynamics. As forbidden rendezvous progress from impulse towards emotional significance, the covert narcissist pivots from supportive to demanding, revealing the affair to compel heightened investment. Sudden aloofness gives way to veiled threats about exposing his secrets which terrify him. Only frantic promises of escalation soften her tone. This emotional extortion trains the target to associate sustaining the fantasy with avoiding catastrophic loss. Her expectations become coercive obligations, sinking him deeper. Once the coworker had secured his total obsession, she threatened to expose their affair if he refused her growing demands, frightening him into greater submission. The neighbor began making escalating demands of the married man, threatening to tell his wife about the affair if he did not comply. This blackmail trapped him further. Step 8. Devaluation and discard, spiking adrenaline through deliberate destabilization. Once confident in trauma bonding, the covert narcissist unpredictably withdraws all affection or ends the relationship outright with little explanation. This destabilization triggers panic as the suspended life crashes, frantic efforts to reconcile reward intermittently, training the target to equate her drama with love. Where her presence sparked euphoria, her absence manufactures misery, then relief upon reconciliation only she provides. This intermittent reinforcement ensnares victims in endless pursuit like addicts. Out of the blue, the coworker ghosted him without warning, devastating him. When she finally hoovered him back, he felt euphoric relief, oblivious to her manipulation. The neighbor employed similar devaluation and discard tactics to keep the married man pursuing her desperately. Step 9. Projected entitlement and jealous surveillance, rewriting relational rules. Emboldened by evidence of emotional control, the covert narcissist's charming pretense slides away, revealing a hypocritical rulebook. She projects entitled expectations exceeding the fantasy previously sold, demanding behavior exceeding her investment. The target must now prioritize her above all others. Though she remains unobligated, flirting with prospects to spark jealousy, protestations of commitment and displays of dominance over competitors. Her script recasts the target's needs as weaknesses and her cruelty as strength. Once he was firmly under her spell, the coworker flirted with other men and claimed rights exceeding even a serious girlfriend while ignoring his needs. If he objected, she accused him of being too demanding. The neighbor began demonstrating a shocking sense of entitlement, insisting the married man be available to her at all times while feeling no obligation to fulfill any of his needs. Step 10. Final ultimatum. Manufacturing loss to deepen trauma bonds. Once confident in trauma bonding, the covert narcissist forces a decisive choice between the now burdensome marriage or the euphoric escape her fantasy promised despite increasing toxicity. This manufactures terrible loss. Previously stable commitments now appear half-lived lives squandered. Either outcome now only benefits her. The target is damned if he does, and damned if he doesn't. She has successfully engineered a nightmare. The coworker eventually forced him to choose between his unhappy marriage and euphoric life with her. Tortured by an impossible decision, he knew abandoning his family would haunt him forever. Yet losing the coworker felt equally ruinous. She had constructed a no-win dilemma. After demanding the married man leave his wife, the neighbor issued an ultimatum. Choose her fantasy or stay in his miserable marriage. This sadistic move left him lost in a labyrinth of pain. Step 11. Retribution and relentless pursuit. Punishing disobedience with stalking. If the target attempts preserving marriage by rejecting further involvement, the covert narcissist aggressively punishes this insolent autonomy through threats like stalking, reputation destruction, or workplace endangerment, reasserting the relation on her sole terms. Intermittently, she may resume the fantasy's comforts through hoovering, briefly representing her false self if he resumes cooperation, training him to equate her company with relieving the torment she manufactures in her absence. When he tried ending things, the coworker stalked him, threatened suicide, and badmouthed him to colleagues, terrifying him. When he begged her to stop, she hoovered him with sweetness, conditioning him to associate obeying her with relieving the chaos. The neighbor launched a campaign of intimidation and defamation when the married man resisted further involvement, even resuming the seduction periodically to keep him trauma-bonded. Step 12. Dialogue and recovery, exiting coercive control through support. Manipulative relational patterns build slowly, escaping notice, but their harm wounds individuals and communities. We should provide non-judgmental support systems so both perpetrator and prey can reflect, take responsibility, and receive care to grow. By seeing our shared struggles with compassion, we enable the empathy and wisdom needed to relate equitably. We all have further to walk up this mountain. In my work, I've counseled thousands navigating the aftermath of narcissistic abuse. Many have bravely shared their journeys of manipulation and trauma bonding. Some recounted partners employing love bombing, gifting constant affirmation and presence early on, only to later devalue them by openly flirting with others. Others described their partners mapping their emotional needs during vulnerable conversations, then later weaponizing that knowledge to undermine them. Many mapped out the incremental steps their partners took to groom and coerce them into toxic relationships. One common pattern emerged of first building trust through sharing vulnerabilities, then making the target feel special through excessive flattery. Next, demands began, along with push-pull tactics inducing addiction. Finally, once confident in securing trauma bonding, cruel ultimatums followed, designed to destroy other relationships and deepen dependence. Another frequent pattern was idealization, love bombing, gaslighting, projection of faults, and intermittent reinforcement to keep the target continuously trying to win back the charming false persona after the brutal true self emerged. Seeing these manipulation tactics for what they are is the first step to minimizing their harm and preventing further abuse. I encourage you to reflect on which narcissistic tactics resonated most and how you responded. Did you internalize blame, become defensive, shut down, or establish boundaries? Please share your experiences so we can support each other in healing. The more we illuminate these tendencies, the more we can regain our power. I look forward to continuing this dialogue and providing further awareness to help release the grips of narcissistic abuse. Focus on uplifting your inner light. You deserve to be cherished for the unique soul you are. Brighter days lie ahead.